This is a tutorial video about the SE-909. I guess I'm used to calling it a drum machine, but it's more of a music machine at this point, a music sequencer. I'll start at the back. It has 2 feet for attaching itself to a surface. And then here on the side, you have a number of buttons for changing, well, first of all, for locking and auto-locking. So you can set auto-lock to on and off, and then also lock when it's on a surface. And then you can pick which color you want the interface or the lights to be. And this reflects also at the back. Orange is quite nice. Whoops. I added white as an afterthought, and it's surprisingly dull. I'm leaving it, but in my opinion, it doesn't look good at all. So I'm just going to go back to blue. So I guess I'm going to describe this from top to bottom. At the top, you have the mixer, everything to do with like the overall sound of your song, and the general level. And then here you have the beats per minute, and then save and load. You put your song in here. It's nasty looking, but you know, it doesn't matter. And then you press load and it loads the song. And then if you're working on something, you press save, and then you can go in here and then select it, copy, and save it in a text file or something. Next down, you have the section that deals with navigating the song and editing the song, meaning like adding patterns or blocks, removing patterns and stuff like that. These 2 buttons. So here you have a button that will create. You know what? This comes with a built-in song. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete everything, including all the instruments, so that I can show you how to build everything up from scratch. It also comes with some built-in instruments, but I think this will be a nice intro. So I'm just going to press delete until everything is gone. There we go. And here I'm also going to press delete until everything is gone. Alright, until we just have an empty sound. A basic default sound. And then here I'm just going to clear the name. There we go. We're going to call this space beat. Obviously, everything has to be space. Here you create new patterns. So you can create new to make new patterns, or duplicate to duplicate the pattern that you have selected. And then you delete patterns the same way. You navigate the song with these buttons. If you have some... Let's do this. Here. So you can see that we have some notes. If you press this button, that lets you move the pattern around the song. This button, or this button, lets you set blocks. So for example, now you can move the right edge of the block, and now you move the left edge of the block. And so now you've set a block, which, for example, you can move the whole block. So here you have a block button, which means that you're now working with the block if you're in a block. And so now if you try to move it, you move the entire thing. And this clears a block. And then here you have... Alright, so I'm just going to press play so that you see what it does. Right now, it's going to play the whole song in a circle. If I press loop, it's going to loop where it's playing. To jump to the pattern that you want, you move there, and then you press Q. And that just queues that up as the next pattern. There's a auto cue option, which means that wherever you go, that's where the cue is. Also, if you set a block, then the looping happens within that block, if the block option is enabled. If you turn it off, the looping happens within the pattern. The other 2 buttons are follow. When follow is on, auto cue turns off automatically. I gotta turn off loop. That just means that, let me come out of here. What you see down here follows where you are, or basically the selected pattern follows the play position. That's nice for sort of looking at your song as you're listening to it, but I generally turn it off for working with it. The other one is all patterns, and that has to do with these buttons down here, which I'm going to explain a little bit later. Then here you have a combination strip. Now I'm just going to say within like a month or whatever, Keen is releasing the new update with the LCD buttons, and that actually would have made my life a lot easier when making this. I don't know if I'm going to update it when those come out, but for now it looks like this. You switch the modes here. If you press the keyboard button, this becomes a keyboard with all the keys. And if you press the pattern button, which it becomes, this now becomes the pattern where you can enter beats. And the way this works is that you enter the last pressed note. So for instance, if you press this high F, and then you go back into pattern mode, and I need to loop this and auto cue. See? Now these are higher. I'm not showing these in any way in the pattern view, or in the, yeah, I guess pattern view, but you can see the notes in piano view. This is a little bit weird because in pattern view, I match the channel you're looking at with the notes that you can, like the selected row, let's say. But in the piano roll view, there's really no way to do that. There are some ways to do that, but I figured this is clear enough. So you see all the other channels as well. Right now they all have the same new sound selected, but you're only looking at the piano roll of one channel. Now, if you actually go into another channel with the same instrument, what happens is that you see, or actually, I think with any instrument, what happens is that the other notes become dimmer because they're in a different channel. And if you now enter notes here, then this channel's notes become clear and the other channel's notes are dim. If you now go up here, it switches. So you can kind of see what you're working with right now. Let me clear this because this is horrible. And let's actually make something. So you can enter notes by hand. Let me pick this A. In the pattern view, you can enter notes by hand. And then down here, you can see the pattern overall, what you're doing. This has to do with the instruments, and I'll explain that in a little bit. This is a little bit more important right now. Down here, you have the note length that you're entering, and here you have the note step, which is analogous. So for instance, if I now choose a half step, or I can choose a longer step, like a double note. And then you see the lengths in the view here and in the view here. You can, up here, clear the track, the pattern. For just this channel, clear the channel, let's say. You can also fill this channel with basic predefined patterns. So every fourth, every eighth. Let me make these shorter. Let me take a half step. So let's do fourths. So that's like our bass drum. And we can even, let's just do that. Over here are the transpose buttons. So if I now go down here, this is the note that I'm playing. What I want to do is to go like 2 octaves down. So I press this button and alright, I like this low C. So now I'm just going to clear this channel and put a low C every 4th step. So you can kind of hear that that's already a kick. Actually, you know what? It's going to be a full step, I think. Alright, we'll take care of this bass drum later. Over here, similar to up here, you can move the channel down here, which is nice for organizing your music. Now, these two buttons let you enter, they're like enter and back. So you enter a sound, and then you can enter the sound to edit it, and then you go back and you go back. So at this point, I want to enter the sound, and if I now click here, I can change its name. So I'm going to call it the kick. It's a pretty crappy kick for now, but we'll change that. So I think this is pretty clear. The pick button lets you pick which note any of the entered notes are, so you don't have to like go into piano mode and then figure it out, and then you could just pick the note and repeat it, copy it. Like I can press pick and then I can enter the same note here. I can randomize, which is nice if I'm like running out of inspiration. And randomize doesn't clear the channel, it just adds new random notes. So what you can do is you can add a basic beat and then add a random thing on top of that. Of course, all of these, they don't turn the note on, they trigger it. So for instance, if I press 1/4, these two go back and forth because they're on the notes that I'm triggering. These buttons let you shift the channel. And if I go back and I can see all the channels, let me enter some notes up here too. So here's what happens. If I now shift these notes, this happens to only this channel. If I toggle all channels, it now shifts the entire pattern. Right. And then same for the random. If all channels is enabled, it randomizes the notes in all the channels. Same for clear. The thing that's left is instrument, which if I press instrument and then I randomize, it also randomizes the instrument before it randomizes the notes. Right now there's only one instrument, so there's nothing that it can do. But it's a nice thing. If you do all channels and instrument, then you press randomize, it just gives you a lot of gibberish, and then sometimes you can find something useful in that gibberish. And we'll use that in a little bit. So let me clear this and let me go back to our first kick channel and let's do the drum. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Now we're going to go up to this channel, enter here, create a new instrument, new sound, and rename this to, this is going to be our basic let's say closed hat. And I think with these we can introduce basically all the features of this bottom row, which is for editing the instruments and sometimes the patterns. Now, so this is, let's do like, what do we want to do with the hi-hat? It's going to be short and it's going to be ooh, wait, no, it's got to be a lot higher. So let's go up. And something like this. And we can add. So that's like our closed hi-hat. If you go up to the mixer, it's important to remember that it doesn't show the actual volume because I can't measure the actual volume. It shows the theoretical volume that I'm playing them at. So you got to be careful with that. But anyway, this sounds nothing like a closed hat. So we're going to go into this instrument, and down here there's a selection of stuff that you can do. What we want to change here is the oscillator. So I press oscillator. You see that some other lights sort of half lit up. What that means is that this whole group, if I select anything from this group, it's the same group. I can copy it and then I can go to a different source or a different oscillator and paste the same settings. So for example, I can add a new oscillator. And then here I can change it. So this is a noise, right? Now I can set copy, go up here, set paste, and now I just have two noises. I don't need two noises, I only need one. And in fact, there are three different noises. They're all looped. There's the low filtered noise without any resonance. So I did a very simple thing to filter it. There's white noise, and there's a high-pitched noise. And I think this is nice for a closed hat. So this is a good noise. I like this. I'm going to go back. Oh, no. And then I'm going to change the volume envelope of this noise. So what I'm going to do is change the sustain. This takes a while, so you can press shift and then it goes faster. And then I need to make the decay a little bit longer. Maybe a bit shorter. That's a nice... Alright, that's a good working hi-hat. Here you see an on button. That just means that you can turn off the oscillator. So now you get nothing. This is useful for editing instruments, just to see what effect each oscillator has. Alright. Let me duplicate this pattern. And I want to... I don't want to auto cue. And you can hear the crazy shuffle. To change the shuffle, you press this button. This is a really weird solution to this, but I could find no other place on the board to fit this button, so you press it and this becomes not the transpose but the shuffle now. So you just go down to, and you can see down here that the notes are moving, as well as you can hear that the shuffle changes. The shuffle is pretty coarse. It's, you know, I'm really limited by the game's timing. Nah, 3 is fine. Alright, so we have some kind of shaker sounding closed hat. Let's work on this kick. So if we enter the source, first of all, right now it's just a tone. So let's do what we did with the previous one. Go down here, set the sustain to 0, and then change the delay. That's alright, but I think I need to make it louder. And I need to make this closed hat quieter. Alright, that's fine. Something happened to my kick. Here. Oh, because I changed the instrument. So now I gotta go in here and change it back to the kick. This is tricky. This is not an optimal solution, but like, you know, why am I even doing this in Space Engineers? This works. It's tricky to get used to, but like, this works. All right, so now we have something that kind of sounds like a kick, but I think I want to still work on the kick. So let me add a, let me actually duplicate this oscillator, and now I'm going to transpose it. So it's a button that looks like that one, and I need to press shift and transpose it down by 12 tones, and you can see the value here that it's minus 12. Excuse me. The other thing that I want to do is I want to have it linger a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the sustain. Which makes it a little bit more beefy already. And then I'm going to increase the release. There we go. That still sounds a little too dull. So I think, no, you know what, I'm going to remove this. This is fine. What I need is, to transpose it by like 5 tones. Three works well. 4, 5. Oof. Yeah, 5 is good. I like 5. All right. Another thing that I'm going to add is a click. So this is an oscillator type, and it's just so you can hear the clicks. The way I did it is that the clicks are slower the lower the note is. So I'm just going to transpose it. And now I just have one click. I'm going to make sure that it's one click by doing this. And I think it's a little too loud. And now you can hear that it's a real, like, pretty decent kick drum. There we go. Now we're DJing. Woo! All right. Let's add something else. Let's add some bass. So now we're going to enter some notes. So we go into piano roll mode, and now we can do this. We can press record, and you get this faint bar, which is the record position. We choose the step length, which means if step length is 1, which is the default, it goes back and forth by 1. If the step length is 4, it goes back and forth by 4. 2 by 2, and so on. So it's just easier for recording longer passages. Half, it actually, you can do half, but that's for editing and nitpicking tiny notes. This is the length. It works exactly the same way. If you press 4 and you press a note, then you enter a really long note, but you jump by 1 because it's set to 1 here. So you got to go back and press step to delete it. Let me turn off record and just see what we can make, what kind of simple bass line we can make. Alright. This is stupid, but it works. Let's make some music. So I'm gonna have... Alright, this is gonna be a double step. Let's try single step notes. Nope. Completely wrong on that one. So I'm just going to erase all this. Go back to the beginning. Choose a step of 4. Yeah, this isn't going to work. I need to actually do some musicking. Alright, let's do this. Except this isn't bass, so what we do is what was that? Yeah, this really is analog sometimes. We press transpose, we press shift, and then we bring it an octave down. It's not exactly nice. Let's see if... Well, first of all, this isn't even, like, bass. We can't see the notes. Is that we're transposed way too high, so we gotta go down. Alright, so it's this A and this F and this D. These notes need to be longer, man. So what we're gonna do is like 4. No, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna erase everything. And do it like this. Yes, that's what I wanted to do. And now we can go in and change the sound. Change the oscillator first of all. Oof, that's nasty. I like the triangle. But I also think we can use a little bit of square. Just make it quieter. Yeah, that's alright. Let me try a little bit of sawtooth. What if I transpose it? That's kind of nice. Ooh. Let me transpose this whole thing. What's going on here? Alright, well, it's not the best music, but, you know, we're doing it. I think at this point I want a little bit more variety, so I'm going to go duplicate this block. And, let's see. I'm going to switch into pattern view. And let's see which notes I'm hitting. The B. Yeah, I think I'm going to try something with this. And I'm going to loop this second block. I think I'm going to half step. Yes, but yeah, no, it needs some shuffle. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Do I want this? Yeah, it's fine for now. So I'll turn on loop, let it do the whole song. Alright, so I think here I want some more bass, but I would like a different bass. Let me turn off these. And let me just loop this block. I would like to hear the hats. There we go. And I guess I would like to also hear the bass. Yeah, I actually think I like this for the rest of the track, so I'm just gonna go and go out here, copy, turn on all patterns, and then I think if I paste, it'll paste to everywhere. Yes. But now that I think about it, this feels naked. I might need this. Alright, well, this is a pretty crappy bass line. Let's see if we can improve it. I gotta see, now I can sample this note and go and replace these with the right note. But it's still crap. Let me do some random. All patterns needs to go, and then I can just do some random. Alright, I guess it applies it to the whole block anyway. That's actually a bug. super random, actually. Oh yeah, that's pretty smooth. All right, let's fix this. There we go. Now let's copy this, paste it to everywhere. Actually on the first one, I think I want to switch these around. There we go. Nice. That's good. Alright, so now I guess I can copy this block, go over to this block, and paste. There we go. And then I just stop looping. That's decent, you know, it's a workable minimal techno track. Let's start like minimal house, I guess. At this point it's a little too dark. I think I want something a little brighter in there. So let's go in and make another instrument. This one's going to be called, let's say, Bright. I don't know. And we're going to loop this pattern right now. Right, so I want something bright, so that means high pitched. All right, well, a little cheesy, but we can do it. All right, let's do this. Now, where do I want to put it? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them somewhere. Wait, no, I gotta go back. Looks like I have a pretty big, pretty strong shuffle. There we go. So, if you notice when I put the cursor, I guess it's called, on a note, the edit light half lights up. That means that if I now press the button, I can move the note. And I also want to move the previous one. There we go. you can do is if you are editing a note, you can change its length. So if you're entering a note, you press the note and then you press step to move on. Or you can press one of these buttons. But if you enter that note and then you press hold, it'll just extend that note. So it extends the note. To delete the note, you have to be at its start. Otherwise, you might be deleting something else. So I can come over here and press hold. No, I can press edit and then press hold, and now I can just change the length of this note. Alright, well that's something. Now I need to work on this instrument a little bit. Let me just solo this for a second. To ease the process of creating a new instrument, like, you know, just to get, I added a random button over here, which allows you to create something, some kind of instrument randomly. That's interesting. Yeah. That doesn't really fit into the rest of the song. Let's see if we can work with it. That's better. Let me transpose it. I think I just want to transpose the one note. So what I'm going to do is press record to enable the cursor, move over to this note, enable transpose, and just move it by itself. That didn't work. Oh, I need to edit, and then I can move it. Not a great instrument, is it? Let me just do this. See if we can randomize something else into existence. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. So, first of all, I guess I need to move that note again now. mind that. That's an interesting little detail. The only thing I think I would like to do is come in here and make this longer now. Like 4 steps. kind of works like a reverb too, if you put them close together and it's not too apparent. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I think I showed everything. I showed the timing, I showed the moving around, I showed the editing. Oh, well, there is one more thing that I can't show. If you're editing notes, so let's go, for instance, into our, what is this simple bass thing? There we go. Into our bright notes, we go into piano roll. If you have the cursor enabled and you go onto a note, let's do this note, and you go in chord mode, what you do is you can just add notes to the note that's already there, or remove them. See, so now I put 2 notes in there. That's pretty cool. And see, and now that's a more interesting little element there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's about it. One more thing that I want to show that's like, I don't want to make a separate thing for the track, but is important is LFO. LFO only works for volume for now, and like I wrote in the description, if anyone is actually interested in this thing, I can add it to other things as well. Let's say I'm gonna make a new instrument. I'm going to transpose all the way to the middle. There we go. So if I press hold when I'm not recording, it just lets me hold that note. So now I can show you what LFO does. If you go over here and you just start, if you turn on LFO and you just start adding it, maybe with a shift, then it appears in the UI. That's basically what it does. And you can change the speed. For now, that's all you can change. I probably should reverse these and make it logarithmic. Anyway. And then if you put them really close together, oh man, it needs to be logarithmic so bad. Actually, let's see if we can do something with this. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.